Hello and welcome to Dateline New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make our community tick. Well, just ignore all those bad things happening in the world and the reason to be stressed out every 7 minutes when you check your phone, because good things are happening, including a 10th anniversary party celebration taking place right here in the Ninth Square, where Elm City Games, a happy place on Orange Street, 71 Orange, is celebrating its 10th anniversary, run by Matt Loader, who is here in our studio to tell us all about Elm City Games. Tell us about Forever Stoked Creative, his game company that makes games at the same location, and the Ninth Square, where he's actually become a capitalist stalwart.
Definitely.
So, Matt Loader, welcome to the NHA studio.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
How's it feel to make 10 years? Like, how significant is that? We talked about age numbers before on the air. How significant is to feel you wrote this business and it's double digits?
I mean, 10 years is a long time. Like any way you cut it, that's a good run. Most small businesses don't last that long. So for us, it's a very exciting thing to be around for that long, to have grown the community to the point where we're at. Somebody referred to us as a New Haven institution recently on Reddit, and that blows my mind, right? Because I think about places that, like Pepe's or, stuff that's been around almost 100 years, right?
It is, though, that if you have now a generation of people who have seen this storefront as a place to gather and play games, buy games, create games in the middle of this kind of very interesting neighborhood that we created in New Haven, and now it's getting to a second recreation. Yeah, and it's getting a second recreation with the 10th Square. And you've actually seen neighbors start and go out of business. Like, I'm thinking of that plant store right down the block.
Yeah.
People love that place, and it opened 5 years after you did and just closed.
Yep. Yeah. Well, retail is hard, and especially given the current economic climate, and both in terms of just people having less money to spend on stuff that's not as important as groceries and housing and medicine. Plus, tariffs have been really, really terrible for us, caused a lot of problems.
Because the stuff get manufactured in China?
Yeah, so something like 80-something% of the entire toy industry, which includes games, is manufactured in China. But what's interesting is that we literally can't make a lot of it here. Like, we don't have the equipment, we don't have the industrial base anymore. So it would take, so even if we want to reshore manufacturing, it's a multi-year process that's going to take billions of investment.
Well, you just saw statistics this morning. After the most aggressive year in trying to reshore manufacturing and trade, we had as big a trade deficit as ever. Yeah,
exactly. Well, it's not like you can just set up a factory that makes something and not to go too off.
So how are the tariffs affecting you? Did you have to raise your prices?
Yeah, so, we raised some prices on things. Basically for us, we have, we buy stuff from distributors, we buy stuff direct from publishers, we buy stuff from our sources, and basically if they raised prices, we also had to raise prices.
Now, is that more elastic given that it's not food? Like food, to some extent, you have to say everyone's got to buy it, but you're going to have a lot of competitors too. So you can't always pass along a 10% increase in cost in food. Can you? What percentage increase did you get, and how much were you able to pass along?
It depends on the publisher and how their financials are. I mean, plenty of stuff isn't made in China, but some stuff was made in other locations that did have, additional tariffs that they didn't have before. And so, for us, it was just we basically had a math formula that was, okay, great, this is the margin we need to make, and this is where we're going to go, and this is what the new math is.
What would be an example of a game, like a name of a game that came from China, it cost X and now it costs Y?
Off the top of my head, I don't know why this is the first one. It's not the most popular game, but there's a game called Horrified. It's really fun.
I'm signing up for that, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And, it used to be, I think, $39.99, and now it's up to, $44.99, something like that.
And how significant is that price point?
That's more expensive stuff is definitely getting harder to sell.
So someone might not buy it who's going to pay $39. They're not going to pay $44.
Yeah, well, 40 feels a lot more than 39.
As we were saying before,
the price elasticity stuff is very real, especially when it's stuff that is totally frivolous. I think play is really important.
Well, play is not frivolous.
Play is very important, but a new game, right? most of our customers have a bunch of games already, and we're happy to
Marco
sell a
says
new game.
human brain thrives on novelty.
Yeah,
so you
exactly.
don't want to play Scrabble every day.
Exactly.
I can come close to that one, but yeah.
Exactly. So, maybe you used to buy a few games a month. Now you're going to buy one, right? Maybe you used to buy a bigger game once a month that was, $40, $50, something like that. And now you're down to buying a game that's $20. You're still getting that novelty. You're still getting the rush of getting a new thing and excitement, but, you're spending a little bit less. So, our sales this last year were up a little bit. Which is great. However, our costs were up a little bit more.
So your margin got cut.
Our margin was a little bit worse. Rent goes up and costs go up. We give everybody raises, cost of living increase raises and stuff like that. So, so our expenses did go up and our sales went up, but it was definitely
a really sales,
challenging
you're talking
year.
about dollar figure coming.
Yeah, exactly. Like our total revenue.
Do you still making money?
Yeah, we're still doing okay. We're not in danger of going out of business or anything terrible like that. But, it's at risk of getting too political about it. It's really frustrating that all of our struggles are really sort of imposed by an administration that doesn't seem to care about us. And by us, I mean like the American people in general. So it's entirely self-inflicted, right? Like there was no need for the tariffs.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah, there was no need for these tariffs. They didn't do any of the things that they were supposed to do. It didn't benefit anybody. It raised money for the government to take and not reinvest in reshoring manufacturing or doing anything like that. And so,
but it's good. They're going to build a new West Wing, right?
Yeah, maybe the ballroom. I don't know. We'll see. But that's what makes it so frustrating.
They hired a lot of ICE agents.
What's that?
They hired a lot of ICE agents.
Yeah, that too. Exactly. Like it's not. I'm a good liberal and a big fan of taxes in theory, and I really believe in the collectivization, and I think it's important that we all pay our share, and that things like roads and schools and fire departments and all that stuff is really important and great, and that collectively we are much better and stronger than we are individually. But it is really frustrating when we're getting squeezed so that money can get wasted on terrorizing people in Minneapolis, right?
And New Haven.
We're
talking to Matt Loader, who does not terrorize people in New Haven. He runs Elm City Games on Orange Street, celebrating its 10th anniversary. Going strong, surviving tariffs, and he also runs Forever Stoke Creative in the back.
Yeah,
where they make games. So, Pat, how did you get into this 10 years ago? What got you to start a store?
Yeah, so the store is actually just a natural outgrowth of my other career in making games. So Forever Stoke Creative, we're a design studio.
How did that start?
So that is a natural outgrowth of just being a big nerd. So I grew up in a family that loved playing games. I joined the family D&D game when I was a little kid. And then, I just took the most
And
classic,
where was that, Matt?
That was in Stanford. I grew up in Stanford. And so...
Is it as soulless a city as it looks, or do you have to get past the center of town? It's just like any other city with interesting neighborhoods.
I think Stanford's actually a really amazing place in that it has this just massive amount of diversity from... the richest zip code in America is frequently in Stanford, and it kind of goes back and forth. So the highest per capita income is in Stanford, but then we also have everything socioeconomic. We're close to New York, so we have a huge amount of culture and diversity and things like that. So I actually feel very fortunate to have grown up there and experienced so many different things.
You did say we.
Yeah.
You referred to Stanford as we.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've been in New Haven, I bought a house up here in 2009. And so I definitely have one foot still, I still think of Stanford as, a we, even though I'm very much,
and it feels like a different planet from New Haven. I never talked to anyone who's like going to Stanford and just came from Stanford.
I feel like Stanford is
New York.
Aggressively a New York suburb. Like we're technically a New York suburb, but we're far enough away. We got our own stuff going on. Stanford is aggressively New Haven.
What brought you to New Haven?
Aggressively New York. Well, I liked it up here. I grew up coming to Toad's Place and the Coliseum and going to shows at Old Rudy's and, all that kind of stuff. So, I always wanted to live in a city. I wanted to live in a walkable place. I went to school down in the city. I went to Pratt in Brooklyn, and so I liked it there. But I think that what I really like about New Haven is, I could afford to buy a house here. I could not afford to have bought a house in Brooklyn.
By closet, even Stanford.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I feel like we're close enough to New York that, the capital of the world casts a long shadow, right? I was just down in the city for New York Toy Fair, right? And so if we need to go down there for the world-class stuff, the world-famous things, it's right there. But here, I could get involved. I could be a part of something. We can really get to know our neighbors better.
You're a real part of New Haven.
I feel very rooted here.
So that around the time you came was when you started your creative studio to make games?
So the studio was kind of going a little bit around then, and I was in grad school, so it was still kind of a part-time thing, and it just kind of grew from there. And then the shop sort of happened because our friend had opened this place called the Happiness Lab, which was a coffee shop that was partnered with the Grove, co-working
space. I forgot it. That was such a big part of our psyche, and now you don't even think about the co-working space on Chapel, one of those old buildings.
It's a real shame. Yeah, it's a real shame, and the amazing elevator.
It's a shame, though. I think things do have cycles.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I think we can mourn the loss of something great, even if it feels like a natural cycle.
The way I feel about New Haven is so many people, some of us are here forever, and that's great, and I cherish that. And sometimes there's an influx of people here for 5-10 years. They contribute so much, and people are sad when they leave, but I always say someone else cool is going to come, and we really were lucky they were here and kind of gave us
exactly.
So the Grove had its moment.
Yeah, I mean, the Grove's amazing, and I think its influence is still very felt, right? There's a lot of businesses that started in there.
Like yours.
Like us, we started in there. So we started in the back of Happiness Lab. So I'd been running game night events.
I remember that.
And so I was running game nights and doing stuff all over the place. I was doing board game brunches at other places. And
what did you find? I mean, because I think of your age group, because my kids are a little bit younger than yours, and they're totally into that whole game thing. I remember on Saturday afternoons they'd have 8 friends over and do solve the pandemic before the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
What were you touching to? What kind of people were coming there? Because I remember stumbling into one of your game nights and thinking, this is interesting. I knew some of the people, and I noticed how this was this really cool way that they were spending time together.
Yeah, well, the thing is that games are very much an inherently social activity. But what's nice is that it also gives you a little bit of a buffer. So it's a really kind of comfortable, safe way to go be social. And if it gets awkward, well, you can just kind of focus on the game. If you're playing a game with people.
I watched some of that night because one of it got interspersed with a primary election night.
Yeah.
I was noticing people who were a little nerdy. I happened to know them and notice how if they were in situations that might not have felt great socially, they moved to another table or focus on the game.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're vibing, you can have great conversations over a game. You're hanging out, you're talking, you're hitting it off. It's awesome. If you're not really vibing, no value judgment. It's just, I'll just play with somebody else, and you remix, and everybody's kind of mixing around, and it gives you something to do. And the
communal nature games, like I was so surprised when I tried to keep up with my kids playing those games when they were in their 30s and 20s with their friends, and I noticed that a lot of times it wasn't necessarily about winning always.
Yeah,
it was about working together to solve a problem.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of co-op stuff. I mean, for me personally, I would rather lose spectacularly than win in a boring way.
So what kind of games did you make at first, and what did you learn? Tell me about a game that really caught on when you were starting this lab.
So we have made a lot of stuff. One of the first games that I did that really kind of turned a corner for me, I had made some stuff before, but I did an X-Files game. And that was just like a real kind of felt like I really leveled up into being more of a serious professional, right? Because I was able to, like X-Files, right? Like, I mean, I'm exactly of the age group that I love the X-Files. Like every Friday night, me and my friends would get together and we would order pizzas and drink, 2-liter bottles of store brand grape soda and watch the X-Files, right? And we loved the X-Files. And so for me, it was just really insane. It was crazy. What do you mean I get to do an X-Files thing? And I got to watch a bunch of episodes for work. And it was just, that was really, really cool. And it was a game that was sold, around the world. And, it did okay. Ultimately, it wasn't like a huge hit or anything, but it did well, and we had fun with it. And just, that was the time that I was like, maybe this is more of a career and less of a side hustle kind of little hobby thing that I'm doing. We'd been making stuff, but it was definitely not something that I had considered.
You say you have a partner? Do you have people working for you?
Yeah. So Forever Stoked at this point, we're a co-op studio. So we have 5 partners. And then we have a few other people that work with us.
5 people come to work at the back of the store?
No, 2 of us are in New Haven. And then 2 of us are in San Diego.
And how do you keep it fun if you do? If games are fun, when it became your job, you said, Matt, you said, hey, maybe I could do this for work. Like people buying this game. There's a come a point where you have to look and say, if I go this way, I'm not going to have fun with games anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a very real fear. I think that there are days where I'm over it, just like any job. But I think for the most part, it is awesome. It is cool. I get to play games for a living. You know?
What kind of game are you developing right now?
So right now we got a few things cooking. We have an expansion for a game we have called Aldara that's really big.
Aldara, how you spell that?
Aldarra, and that's like our really big game. It comes in a 1 foot by 2 foot by 9 inch box. So if you can imagine, it's huge. It's like this airship, dudes on a map, like giant, Risk kind of thing. And it's just massive. So we're working on expansion for that. We're working on a game, that I will pronounce Fuk, F-U-K. And that's a party game.
And how do you, what's involved in that?
So you say Fuk, definitely just Fuk, cause we're on the radio.
Well, you can say fuck if you want.
Oh, okay, great. So the game's called Fuck, and you say fuck a bunch. And effectively, you're trying to get people to guess which scenario you're in based on, do you say fuck or do you say fuck?
And is it like charades where they ask questions and there's a limit to how you can answer those questions?
All you can say is fuck, actually. So,
so what's the thing they might say first? Like, so do they start out by saying, like, are you outdoors or indoors?
No, it's just, there's images of stuff happening. So I might be winning a trophy or slipping on ice or, stubbing my toe.
So the person says fuck a certain way, and what does the other person have to do?
Everybody else collectively discusses the nature of that fuck and then tries to decide which scenario I am in based on the way that I explained it.
And then what do you do to relate to them back?
They decide which one they think it is, and if they're correct, they get a point.
That sounds like a lot of fun. We're talking about Matt Loader, who has fun for a living and has other people have fun for a living with, oh my God, when is that more needed than today? He's going strong at 10 years of the Elm City Games. They're celebrating on a Friday, a 10-year anniversary. How you going to celebrate it?
So Friday is our actual anniversary. So Saturday we're just having a party all day. We got our friends from Armada Brewing that are going to bring beer. We have our friends at Hope Gallery Tattoo that are going to come do a tattoo pop-up in the back. So you can come get tattooed. And we're just doing, free day passes. We're going to do a little sale. And then really just kind of.
And do people come to play games in the store?
Yeah, so that's actually a huge part of what we do. We're very much third space. So if you're familiar with third space theory, that's us. We're very much to just very briefly explain. You have work, you have home, and then you have these third spaces, and that can be church, that could be the bowling league, that could be the game community that you go to. And so we have a bunch of different folks that play specific games. We have folks that just come out for general, hey, it's board game night, I'll play whatever. And
how many times a week do you have that kind
of we have stuff pretty much every day, different things at different times, like we have new games, new friends on Sundays, and party games on Friday night, and then Magic the Gathering Commander on Wednesdays, and there's always something going on, Dungeons and Dragons, things like that. So there's always people, and then there are people that just show up, like the same way that you'd show up to like a club.
Is it free, or do you pay to play?
Yeah, so we do $10 day passes to come and use the space. That includes like activities, if there's events, things like that. Or we do $20 monthly memberships.
And boy, that really is how people did picture Ninth Square.
We very much pride ourselves on being a community first kind of space. We have about 300 monthly memberships. So about 300 people, pay us every month to come in regularly enough that they pay for a membership.
And what percentage of your income is that?
That is at this point probably about 25%. So when we started, it was the vast majority of our income. We did very little retail. But as we've grown, retail has become a bigger part of what we do.
Or how big is the retail?
Retail is probably about 75%.
So you're separating that out from the money you make at the shop that makes the games in the back.
Yeah, so those are two completely different businesses, totally distinct, different entities, different ownerships.
Well, that's great. You get 75%. How many people do you employ?
So we have 7 employees. Wow. And most folks are full-time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're able to keep 7 people in business, pay rent in the Ninth Square, ground level retail.
Yep.
10 years. Way to go, man.
Thank you.
What do you think it took? Were there ever times when you were about to go to business? You had to figure out something? And what did you have to figure out? Like, tell me about a moment like that.
Oh, I don't even know. We just figured it out somehow, I mean,
we had the tariffs, you had to pay the prices.
Yeah. So that, some of it is doing stuff like that. Some of it is just reworking some of the way we do stuff. Some of it is, oh man, we really got to cut some expenses this month, to just kind of
an example of something that happened and then you made a decision that kept you in business. Tell me about a moment where, like, Matt.
Well, I mean, COVID, I think, is a huge one, right? And so that's actually when we made the biggest shift to retail, is when COVID happened, the lockdown happened, and we weren't doing anything. Thankfully, we had really great landlords. So, I'll plug them. Night Square, Beacon Properties. They told everybody in the retail spaces, actually, they gave us free rent during the lockdown.
That was smart.
Which is crazy. I mean, but I have so many
They
friends.
need you there. They need to make that. I remember the original drawings of Night Square relied so heavily on those storefronts, and it was hard to fill them.
Yeah, and I think they were very smart about it. I don't think they did it completely out of the goodness of their hearts or anything. But I have a lot of friends who
I'm okay with enlightened
did go to
capitalism.
business. Yeah,
treating people like humans is good for your bottom line. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it turns out that happy people spend more money.
So, did you do any kind of online for money gaming on COVID?
So we kept game nights going online. We didn't charge for them or anything, but we kept doing. We had game nights online. Actually, just this past summer, I officiated the wedding of two folks who met via one of the online game nights.
Tell me about that. Was that in COVID?
During COVID, we were doing online game nights, and they both just showed up and they hit it off.
What was the game?
Oh, that's a great question. They would know. I don't remember.
Horrified.
Yeah, horrified. It was horrified. Definitely.
And they met on the game night online.
Yeah, and then they're both in New Haven, so they eventually met up. They met up in person and hit it off. And
you are a justice of the peace.
I am a justice of the peace.
You've done a lot of weddings.
I have done
over 1,000.
I think at this point I'm over 1,500.
So every day you do a wedding?
At this point, I do probably, it depends because I travel a bunch. I do a bunch of game conventions. So when I'm gone, I don't do any, but like I have one tomorrow. I got one Saturday. Before the party, I'm going to get up early and go to a wedding.
And when were these folks married? Who met?
So this couple got married, I think it was August, last August.
And is there any similarity to devising a game and marrying people?
I think that it all benefits greatly from emotional intelligence and being able to sort of create a vibe. So, ultimately what I'm doing when I officiate a wedding is that, nobody really cares what I have to say, really. They don't care what I think about love. They're there to kind of see this amazing moment between these two people. And so my job is to kind of help hype and create this moment and think about the things that I can say and the way that I can say them that creates this mood and this energy. And so game design is really similar in that I'm thinking about the rules and the systems that we can use and the levers that we can pull and dials we can turn that are going to create the desired experience. So, the experience isn't necessarily romantic, big energy, but it is, I want you to feel stressed out, or I want you to be laughing, or I want you to be really thinking and it's really puzzly, so being able to empathize, I think, is really central.
And it must feel good to create a game or a game space where people, at times where it's kind of hard to get through the day, really connect with each other and find some joy. And I guess there's a lot of similarity with the marriage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is really, I think it's true even in the best of times that play and games and that kind of stuff's really important. But I think it's even more important in, times like these where the regular world can be so bleak and depressive and kind of down, and it's really easy to fall into that. And so having a place where you can go and just be amongst, friendly, positive people and, see your friends and just kind of forget about it, fall into some fantasy world or fall into thinking about this game and focus on that and just kind of, let off a little steam emotionally.
And we're talking to Matt Loader, who's the founder of Elm City Games with a 10th anniversary on Friday, an all-day blowout fun day on Saturday. Check it out on 71 Orange. And the back, he also runs Forever Stoked Creative. He's a game developer. Matt, you brought a game.
I did. I did
bring a short round of a game. Okay.
So this is a game. This is a game that we had come out last summer. It's called How Many What, and it is a game of measuring stuff in other stuff. So we're going to play kind of a modified version for radio, but it is actually going to work. So, and you can play along at home as well. So we're going to have a question: how many blank tall is Danny DeVito? And then I'll fill in that blank with one of the cards. So a great question is, how many bottles of wine tall is Danny DeVito?
Ooh.
And then I have a guess, but we'll let you guess.
Is it multiple choice or no?
No. You just write down an answer.
You mind if I just look at my feet for a second?
Yeah.
And I'm remembering him in the movie with Queen Latifah. Okay, so wait. I guess we speak Taxi. I'm going to say
So Danny DeVito is 4.8 bottles of wine tall.
What was your guess?
My guess was 5, but I also cheat because I've played this a bunch, so and wrote a lot of it.
I was way off on that one.
No. Some people would have said like 100. You know, some people get crazy with it. So we'll do one more. How many unsharpened number 2 pencils long is an albatross's wingspan?
How many number 2 unsharpened?
Unsharpened.
That's important.
So full size.
Okay. I'm using my fingers here. Albatrosses. Then I have to guess about the albatross. I'm going to say 30.
16, actually.
Okay.
16, which is actually less than I thought. I was in the 28-ish range.
So how does this game develop? So
it's an albatross wingspan 10 feet.
Okay.
An albatross wingspan.
So how does the game then develop? So you ask one person, you put the cards out, and neither person knows the answer.
Yeah, so you play this with a big group of people too. You know, you can play it with up to 8, or I think in the box, and you can play with even more if you just grab a pen and paper. So I'd ask the question, everybody writes down an answer, and then we put all those answers out on the table, and then everybody tries to guess which one is correct.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so you don't even have to be the smartest and get the closest answer if you see somebody else and you're like, oh, well, that's definitely it. Or it's somebody that might have expertise, right? Your what is it, ornithologist friends, they're going to know how big an albatross is off the top of their heads, right?
Now I remember what that night was on the nice square. That there was a guy who invented a politics game, and it was a presidential election year.
Yeah, super PACs.
And
it was the worst party we ever threw.
And that we co-sponsored that.
Yeah, it was because it was literally the worst party. It was the 2016 election night.
But it was primary night.
Nope, it was full on election night.
That was your party. I'm talking about the independent sponsor of the primary nights.
Yeah.
Live stream people playing the games.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. We also did something for 2016 election night, which was.
And tell me why that was.
Oh, that was the worst party. Well, I mean, I think we all know why it was the worst party because everybody showed up. It was a big joke. It was supposed to be a celebration. And everybody was like, "Yeah, this is cool. We're having a party." And then by 10 p.m. or whatever, half the party was crying and the other half was obliterated drunk.
I remember we were here just staring at the screen while we were writing up the results and our hearts sinking.
Yep. And
then the first thing I heard from the news was, on a ride back home, was that the stock of private prisons had just shot up.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
And I was riding with someone I'm white and she was black. And she said, just for us, we just know it's over. It's like, this isn't funny. This isn't like, you know.
We had 2 people show up. One of them was dressed as Hillary Clinton. The other was dressed as Trump. And early in the night, it was a great joke. It was so funny, right? And then by the end of the night, that person had taken off their little wig and was just, the joke stopped being funny.
Tell me about a great night.
Oh, so one that jumps out from the early days is, if you remember when Pokemon Go was really big. We did.
I thought that was before you started.
No, that was pretty early on it came out around when we started. So we got to be a Pokemon gym. And we did some Pokemon catching parties. So we did a few of those and those were crazy. We had, 500 people show up and, what we did is we gave out prizes. We checked everybody's little Pokedex. How many did you have when you started? And then everybody had, 3 hours or whatever to run around the city and catch Pokemon.
Oh, I remember that. I remember when you started seeing people walking around town looking at
exactly.
You wonder what they're doing. They're finding Pokemon. Oh, that sounds
really good. So that was really, really great. We loved that. I really like night market. When there's night market, it's just such a great time at the shop because we have a whole bunch of people that have never been there before.
They close off the street, everybody's there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just great because we get a bunch of people that didn't know we existed, that didn't know even game stores like what we do existed, and we get to have a lot of really exciting conversations with people that are just like, this is amazing. Like I didn't know this was a thing. I'm so excited to come back and it's just a great vibe.
And that's part of another idea of making the street available to humans rather than cars. And there's been a big debate about that in the Nice Square.
There has.
Because Nice Square now, for how many months a year do we close off your block?
So it depends exactly, but it's usually kind of like April-ish to November.
And some people are saying we don't like that because you need to be able to park on the street if you're one of the 2 people lucky enough to get a spot.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of complaints about people sort of like hanging out there.
And you actually live in a neighborhood with mixed income housing. Nice Square was built.
Yeah.
I think one of the more successful projects that brought mixed income into a city where it's still very good housing and people live side by side and you actually don't know who's who, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But some people don't like the fact that therefore people come out of their house and sit on the street.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some folks who have views around that kind of stuff that I disagree with, let's say.
And also, there are different retailers. Some retailers say, I need people to hop in and out of a car, even though 9/10 of them won't be able to anyway.
Yep.
But you seem to be making the argument, when I read online, that you felt that your business benefits from a pedestrian friendly.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
Well, so, we have lots of parking in garages. We have multiple garages within 1,000 feet of us.
People hate going in garages.
Oh, sure.
But there's no street space either. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's like 12 parking spaces that get lost, something like that. So it's not like there's this massive need for parking directly in front of it. And nobody's driving downtown and saying, oh, I wanted to go to this store, but I had to park a block away, so I'm not going to go there anymore, right? Whereas walkers creating a sense of place and a sense of go to places and be there is really great for us because we're a cute little block. We have this little closure. We have the Rainbow Road. We have all these tables. People can grab lunch. They can check out some of the stores in the neighborhood. We're actually in the middle. So I help run the 9 Square Merchants Association, and we just started a committee to do sort of like 9 Square specific marketing. So, we love Town Green. We do a lot of stuff with them. They're amazing, but they're all of downtown. And so we have a little thing going where it's just 9 Square. And so one of the things we're doing is we're making a little map of spots to go, and having a street closure, having more pedestrian stuff means that it's easier for you to make a day of it. It's easier to come down, check out the spots, like walk around. It looks nicer. It also, just with the closure and the lighting and everything, it feels safer and more cohesive and more a place to come to and hang out. We really want all of our customers to go eat in the restaurants around us, to go shop in the other stores.
You have Firehouse 12, you have Cafe 9.
We have so much amazing stuff.
You got the Pride Center.
Kung Fu Kitchen just went in. They're great. You at the Pride Center, exactly. We got, other great stores.
It's interesting to think about it. So 9 Square was dead, and that's, the original 9 Square, New Haven being the first planned city, how it was laid off southeast of the Green. And then in the 1980s, we decided to rebuild it, and we gave it a lot of money. We got the biggest at that point in history, UDAG grant, Urban Development Action Grant, with the idea that even though it was going to be privately developed, McCormick Barron, it was going to be, which is now Beacon, they were going to make sure it was mixed income.
Yeah.
And they were also going to renovate. In addition to building, they're going to renovate. And always the big lift was retail, because American retail has changed, especially after that when people bought online. But it's been successful. It went through a few phases. Now you got this growth of the 10 Square and Wooster Square, which is so interesting to me about how it's going to affect you, Cafe 9, Firehouse, Pride Center, because 2 inches from where the 9 Square ends, you now have a new apartment building.
Yep.
Where retail's not successful yet. They're trying. They're at a store running out of business there and everything. But they have a lot, like hundreds of people living there who didn't on what used to be the Coliseum.
Yep.
Right over the train tracks, you have 4 new communities of hundreds of people in each.
Yep.
And right up the street by Chapel and State, you have all these new apartments coming in. What does that mean for you? What does it mean for the 9 Square?
I think it's great. I think more people living in a city is awesome. I'm a huge fan of dense and walkable. I love a sense of neighborhood. I love neighborhood restaurants, neighborhood bars, neighborhood spots, and like I said, we're very third placey. So while not everyone in there is going to be excited to come hang out, we think of ourselves as an extension of people's living rooms. And so, where your den, where your living room, you want to go hang out, come hang out at our space, and you don't have to worry about cleaning up to have company over or anything like that. And so it's just really exciting to see more stuff getting built and more people coming in.
And also to have some people who had vision of what can make us an interesting city that isn't a copycat of other places.
That's
and you succeeded. It took 10 years. I just want to congratulate you on your success on keeping this cool business going and creating community.
I think part of what I love about the 9 Square is that we have a lot more unique businesses, weirder businesses, stuff that you wouldn't necessarily find over on Broadway, right? Stuff that isn't the LL Bean or whatever.
And those don't last.
It turns out.
All right, but you do.
Yeah.
Matt Loader, congratulations on 10 years running Elm City Games in addition to Forever Still Creative. Everybody, Saturday, all day. Check them out online for the schedule. Elm City Games will be celebrating 10 great years and on to the next 10 years.
Yeah. We're excited to be here. And we just actually, this last summer, signed another 5 years on the lease. So we added another 5 years. We had 5. We added another 5. So at this point, we got another 9 years of lease left. So we're in it for the long haul.
That's wonderful. And thanks to Harry Joes, who's in the long haul as our station manager every day. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew. How It Feel to Be Free from the group CD A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us and Elm City Games all day and all night and all weekend long at WMHH-FM, New Haven's home for community radio.